Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to this month on Minecraft. This month, GeorgeNotFound is exposed, Punz is exposed, and the QSMP is also exposed. Starting off, CaitiBugzz has come out with allegations against GeorgeNotFound. On the 9th of March, CaitiBugzz would go live with the stream title Telling My Story. In the first 2 minutes of the stream, she would already start crying but wouldn't explain anything yet, leaving her chat confused and scared for her. She starts off by saying that Shubble empowered her to come out and talk about her story.
I want to start this by saying I wouldn't be here without Shelby. I was ready to disappear with this secret forever. I never knew that creators were allowed to talk about these kinds of things, and I guess I'm still new to it all.
Katie states that at the beginning of summer last year, she was assaulted by an older and larger content creator. She also states that she had freshly turned 18 and was drunk at a party.
I was assaulted by a significantly older and popular content creator.
She then says that her mutual friend was romantically involved with this much larger content creator and wanted to return to their hotel room but didn't want to go alone. Katie states that George was flirting towards Katie the entire time. However, they assumed that George didn't know her age. After the three girls left, Katie received an Instagram DM from George. Keep in mind, Katie's age is very clearly in her bio, meaning George would know Katie's age.
The two of them and the three of us. Not much happened that first night, just some drinking and talking at a table. The guy's friend had been passing flirts at me the entire night, but because he was the oldest in the room, we assumed he didn't know my age.
A few nights passed and now it was near the end of VidCon. Katie would once again get herself very drunk with her friends and would travel to Dream and George's hotel room. On the way, she was stopped by a friend to make sure if she was okay, to which Katie agreed. It was the same 5 people in the hotel room. Katie says that both Dream and George would encourage the 3 girls to drink more alcohol even though they were already drunk.
There was more alcohol in the room and we were encouraged to drink some more as they offered the bottles to us. They said they would join us in drinking and insisted on drinking games, and, already drunk, I obviously complied.
During this time, George would simply sit next to Katie. While playing these drinking games, Katie states again that she was only 18 and has never had sex before to the whole room. And then it happened. While Katie was playing a mobile game, George would slip his hand under her clothes in front of everyone, disguising it as an "are you ticklish" comment.
Out of nowhere, I felt him slip his hand under my clothes, sitting next to me on the couch in front of everyone. He disguised it with a simple "are you ticklish?"
She would then say that George's hand would move to places to which she had not asked for. As well as this, George would touch Katie in certain areas to make her lose the mobile game. Katie's emotions would intensify, saying that it was the first ever time she was touched, and she reassured herself, saying she was extremely sensitive.
That night, it was the first time anyone had ever touched me.
Once Katie finally decided it was time to leave, George would leave with her. Katie would then walk to the elevator where George would play a prank on her, saying that the elevator was broken. After this, George would then leave her to go home, which is where the night ended. The pair would then follow suit in Instagram messages for a bit, where there were hints of flirting. She said the reason she did not come out about this earlier is because she would feel embarrassed and that she was scared of his power. Katie would say the name GeorgeNotFound would haunt her everywhere she went. Katie states she was suicidal at one point when she tried to speak up about what happened because George's own fans defended him at the time. She then moved on to how content creators' power would mean that victims are left helpless.
My story is about power and age and consent. It pisses me off that they can hide behind their power while victims are left helpless no matter what scenario. It pisses me off that he thought he had the right to do what he did, that he did it even in my silence.
As well as this, she says every time she is touched, she is taken back to that night in the hotel room with George. Katie reiterates that Shubble speaking out against Wilbur helped her in speaking up against GeorgeNotFound. I mean, when I first saw this, I was so surprised because, especially after what Wilbur did, I was like, surely that's it, surely no one else, but man. After the internet would discover that Katie was talking about GeorgeNotFound, George posted this tweet saying he would never assault someone or break sexual boundaries. A day later, on the 11th of March, GeorgeNotFound would go live on Twitch with the title Serious Conversation. He starts off the stream saying he's going to be talking about topics of abuse and sexual assault. George reveals that the stream was actually a pre-recorded video. This video starts off with George saying he has interacted with Katie on 2 separate occasions, and the first time was in the hotel room in VidCon. He then shows off what the hotel room looked like.
There was a living room, there was a table, and the bedroom was kind of separated from it.
On the first night, when Katie's mutual friend wanted to hang out with Dream did not want to because he thought the girls were having more fun at the party that they were already at. George states again that on this night was the first ever time George would meet Katie and that all they did was play drinking games. George brings up the flirting that Katie accused him of, to which he responds saying this.
Now, one thing Katie said retrospectively, looking back at the scenario, is that I was flirting with her throughout the night and that she was uncomfortable with this because of our age difference. At the time, she was 18 and I was 26. She actually assumed I didn't know her age because she had never said it. But then later, I had actually DM'd her on Instagram. And because of this, she says that it is confirmed that I know her age. To give some context to this scenario and to why I didn't know her age, my perspective of things is that I am with people that are over the age of 21 in a scenario where we are doing things that people that are over the age of 21 are doing, like drinking. And also the people that came from an event where they had very heavy security.
The second time the pair would hang out would be the final day of VidCon. At this point, it was 6 PM. Dream would once again be invited to a party to which he didn't want to go to, which would lead the girls once again coming to Dream's room. However, this time, instead of only 2 out of the 5 girls coming, all 5 of them made their way into the hotel room. So in total, there were 8 people in the room. The group would continue what they did the night before, where they were playing drinking games and having a good time. George then says that he moved to the couch where he sat next to Katie, and at this point nothing had happened yet and there was no indication that she was uncomfortable. A little later into the evening, 2 of Katie's friends have left, reducing the number of people from 8 down to 6. At this point, Katie says she resorted to playing the game to cope with the awkwardness, to which George says this.
The game was honestly the central point of the interaction at this part of the night. It was a very social thing. You know, she was passing the phone around. We were all playing the game and bantering about it, having fun with the game. So I don't see how like she resorted to it and was like using it in that context. She wasn't being awkward at all. There was no sense of uncomfortability from her. She was laughing and playing with everyone. And yeah, I'm not really sure why she phrased it like this.
He then goes on to talk about what happened while the 2 were cuddling. The cuddling lasted for a total of an hour, and at the beginning, George would have his hand on her waist above her clothes. When Katie says that George touched her to make her lose the game, George agrees and says that he did do this. He then says that after the party ended and when Katie was leaving to go to her room, she states that George would leave with her and that the whole elevator encounter was really weird, to which George replies with this.
This is phrased in a way that makes me look kind of creepy, to be honest. He's basically saying she left, so I decided to leave too, which is not the case. What actually happened is Dream had decided he was too tired and was going to bed. We all left. So Katie actually had her own hotel room on the same floor as Dream. So she actually didn't have to take the elevator. She walked me to the elevator when she didn't have to and said goodnight to me.
After the elevator, that would be the last time George and Katie would meet in person, and their online messages would soon after also be friendly, and the last message they would share together would be on the 1st of August 2023. And after saying that, George would end his stream. However, 2 days after the stream, Katie would come out with a 10-page document outlining and disproving every single one of George's defenses. The statement starts out with her saying that George literally said she touched Katie while drunk. Katie finishes off the statement by saying that she will be away for a week, in which after she will stream a final statement. After reading this, George came on Twitter and replied by saying he was introduced to a lot of information in which he was not aware of before. He has much more to say and will be saying more soon. But we wouldn't have to wait long, as on the 16th of March, George George would upload a video titled My Response. Clearly being a response to the 10-page document that Kaiti made on him, his video starts off with the text from the perspective of Kaiti's friends, and that he only brought her up to disprove the allegation that both Dream and George were imposing more alcohol on the girls. When Kaiti brings up the other content creator that she wanted to meet, this is what George responded with.
One of the reasons she wanted to hang out in our hotel room was because there was another creator that was in the room, but then that creator didn't actually end up being there. Again, reasonable, I didn't know this at the time. There were people in and out of our hotel room throughout the whole event, so she could have potentially heard of anyone being there.
In response to Kaiti saying that she was lucky to talk to a famous YouTuber over Instagram, George says that he never thought Kaiti felt this way. George speaks on the topic of the elevator, and he felt as if Kaiti worded it to make him sound like he was following her to the elevator when that was not the case. During that night, a friend of Dream and George was present, and he allegedly knew about Kaiti's age earlier on. Kaiti states this friend left very early when George says he was the last to leave. As well as the text message that Kaiti showed, George states that it is completely fake. George's response to Kaiti standing up and going back to him was that it wasn't what he was thinking at the time. He then talks about the text that Kaiti received checking if she was okay or not. George's response was that outside of Kaiti, no one had expressed any discomfort at the time. He then proceeds to call out all of the content creators which still had negative thoughts about George after Dream made his response video back in December last year. The wristbands that George used as evidence were brought up next, and to further back himself, George says this.
Essentially, they give you this wristband to show that you are over 21 so that you can get drinks from the bar. These wristbands are made in a way so that once they're put on, they cannot be taken off without breaking it. And that's precisely why they're used, to prevent people from underage drinking. But clearly the security that gave the girls these bracelets didn't do good enough.
He also reiterates how the entire situation could have been easily avoided if he had simply asked her age. However, obviously, this was not the case. And that is where the video ends. Kaiti made a final stream on the situation, coming out with a lot of new information, but at this point, a lot of people are divided on whether to believe her or not. She comes out with a lot of info which completely changes the story and doesn't make it make sense. Honestly, this situation I feel like it should have been taken care of in private, because there was no reason for it to blow out of proportion and, you know, for the fan base to be like, oh, I hope George dies, oh, I hope Kaiti dies, oh, this, that. Like, it would have been so much better if it was resolved in private. Like, instead of like making two fan bases go to war with each other, like, just solve it in private. Moving on, an operations admin from the QSMP has come out with statements about the working conditions. The admin, whose name is Leah, made multiple tweets on the 4th of March talking about the working conditions that went like this. Imagine having the first Minecraft multilingual server of the world and pay your employees 150 euros per month and threatening to sue them if they dare complain. And you've signed a non-disclosure agreement. If you talk, we sue you. Yes, of course. They think they can send me a toy as a gift and that I'll forgive them and shut up. They don't know who they ran into. There were so many more tweets that the admin made on the terrible working conditions within the facility, saying how her and the rest of the workers were disrespected, threatened, overworked, and underpaid. But why would Leah come out with all of this information now instead of when it was actually happening? French streamer Pierre leaked that the two were talking to each other when that was not allowed by the rules. She was accused of leaking sensitive information about the server's DDoS attack to the streamer when Leah says this is not the case. It's then revealed that people from the admin team talk to creators of the QSMP all the time when they are not allowed to. The worst thing was that when she was fired, the other admin staff were lied to and got told something completely different. They were told Leah was purposefully breaking rules and causing herself to get sanctioned when that was not the case. The French admin was also furious about her monthly wage, as considering how big Quackity is, she was offered a measly $200 for her effort to work for the SMP. This tweet blew up, gaining massive amounts of attention, and soon enough, Quackity himself. Quackity would go live a few hours later saying that the job to work as an admin would start out as a volunteer position so people could integrate themselves within the team, and that after a while they would be be paid a healthy salary as a full-time job. When it came to overworking the volunteers, Quackity had this to say.
What I was not aware of is to what extent and conditions were being required from the volunteers. There are going to be very drastic changes in QSMP moving forward, from the administrative perspective and from the creative perspective as well. My responsibility relies on knowing what is happening in the project I am running. And for not being more involved, I want to deeply apologize. This should have never happened, and I'm extremely disappointed. Everybody involved in Quackity Studios will be paid. And if at any point my own funds are not sufficient enough to pay workers or maintain the project, then the QSMP cannot continue and it will close down.
The internet's response to Quackity was very positive, as even Leah said herself that Quackity was not aware that this was going on. Now, here's where stuff gets really interesting. As Leah is located in France, she earns money under French worker laws. And French worker laws are really strong and work really well. So even if Quackity Studios tried to make the defense that Leah was just a volunteer, it would still not go well for them because of the worker protection laws. So a lawsuit was then filed against Quackity Studios because, of course, it's a company. Now, as far as I know, this lawsuit has not progressed that much, as Quackity Studios refused to give any input. It would definitely be interesting to see how this situation develops, but all blame definitely goes to like the higher ups of the Quackity Studios, not Quackity himself. Vitalisy has recently opened up as to why he is leaving the Lifesteal SMP, and honestly, it's one of the most heartwarming videos I've ever seen. Earlier this month, he posted a video titled "Why I Left the Lifesteal SMP," and the video starts off with his first reason saying that he needs to spend more time with his family and friends. He says that while his mother was celebrating her birthday with her dad, Vitalisy was playing in a Minecraft tournament for $5,000. He looked back on it and felt really bad because he could always participate in any other Minecraft event, but he could not relive those precious moments with his family. Bringing up the Wilbur situation, he says that you never really know anyone online and that it is so much better to meet with them in person. Vitalisy thanks everyone who supported him to where he is now, and he appreciates all of it. He states he will be taking a break and doesn't know yet when he will return. Ex-Dream SMP member Purpled has uploaded a video on his main channel after being absent on it for over a whole year. Last year, when Purpled left his channel, his video mainly talked about how he was so bored of Minecraft content and the community in general, and that it was time for him to move on. He would upload only 2 videos on his second channel, which was what he planned to move on to. But in a whole year, he would only upload 2 videos, so what happened to all of the other video ideas that Purple had planned out? Well, in his recent video titled "I Was Wrong," Purple explains that he had so many video ideas and concepts that he wanted to carry out on his second channel. But as he was surrounded by the MrBeast team, the pressure was building for Purple to make really good videos. The pressure got to a point meaning he would create barely any videos on his second channel. And after a year out, Purple announced he would try to upload multiple times a month, with it being Bed Wars content and other Minecraft videos outside of Bed Wars. I mean, for his sake, I hope he sticks to more frequent uploads. Moving on, if you cast your minds back to October, you will remember that I covered a story between Illumina and Stella, where Illumina had sexually assaulted and raped Stella at VidCon in Las Vegas last year. Well, after Illumina's response video that showcased him thinking it was okay to take advantage of a drunk person, he has finally come out with an official apology to Stella, a whole 6 months later. He starts off by saying that he was confused and stressed on how to respond with the right words. Illumina then takes accountability in saying that Stella was taken advantage of regardless of intention. After he woke up, he was confused and stressed on why she left in the first place and didn't think that he was the reason as to why she did so. Illumina apologizes and realizes he was not empathetic enough to realize that Stella leaving meant that she was uncomfortable and wouldn't want to be around him. He then admits to his over childish behavior and apologizes greatly to ruining Stella's and everyone else's Las Vegas trip. The creator apologizes for the absolutely awful public response that he made, realizing that he was putting the blame on the wrong person. Illumina hopes that with time he can improve to become a better person, and that is where it ends. months. Stella would then go on to bring attention to what happened between her and Greninja. And if you don't remember this, back in December, Stella released information about what happened after she left the hotel room with Greninja, exposing Greninja to be manipulative and a potential necrophiliac, even though his audience deny it. Greninja was informed of Illumina's apology and was being told to apologize as well. However, he would make his first official response when Stella made a statement talking about both creators who harmed her, both Illumina and Greninja. In summary, she reiterates the wrongdoings that she did to both Illumina and Greninja, but states that they caused her much more harm than she caused them, and that if she is to be believed as a victim, then people would continue to deplatform both creators, but if not, she simply wants to be left alone. In response to the statement, Greninja would say this: he hopes that Stella recovers from the trauma that Illumina caused him and that he apologizes for the wrongdoings that he did. But he is angry at the fact that he is being compared to Illumina, which according to him is a much worse person. And that is where it ends. I've said it before and I'll say again. This is the third time I'm making a story about this. Enough guys, just I don't want to ever hear about this again, please. After a mere 2 months of being inactive, the InfuseSMP has returned with a revamped server. The SMP posted the announcement earlier this month, gaining a lot of attention and support from the fans. The server introduced a new plugin with new effects as well. They also opened up a public server for the fans to join. Let's hope this season goes well. Earlier this month, just a week after Wilbur said statement, Shubble has come out with a response to Wilbur's awful response to this situation. If you don't remember, Wilbur sought with Shubble's abuser via extremely painful physical biting, and Shubble went live to respond to this statement. She starts off by saying that ever since she spoke, her replies and DMs were bombarded with all types of explicit content, and that she's never seen anything like this before. In response to Wilbur's haters saying that Shubble's abuse was not actually real, she says that her therapists are far more reliable than Twitter comments. She would continue stating how much she hates Wilbur's fans for the next few minutes, and they would come up with lies, misinformation and hate in order to get Shelby to stop coming for their favorite creator. At around 9 minutes, she starts talking about the dreadful apology that Wilbur made. Shubble says the apology was instantly invalid as she was never addressed by name, to which she found disrespectful. At around 10 minutes in, she starts getting emotional as she talks about how Wilbur might have moved on like she was nothing, but Shubble still has to live through the trauma of what she endured.
I truly believe my soul is healed beyond him, but unfortunately, my mind and my body are not, and that will take more time. Your brain chemistry changes when you live through something like this.
Shubble then says that she's simply going to try and go about her day in order to find peace from him. After this, she would go on and play Minecraft. The replies, of course, flooded with support for Shelby and hatred for Wilbur. Honestly, I hope Shubble gets all the support she can get, because what she went through was so bad. Now, alongside Wilbur and George being called out, a third member of the Dream SMP has also been exposed for his own reason. Just keep in mind, this situation is completely separate from Wilbur and George. Earlier this month, someone called Andi posted a long piece of text on Tumblr. The text was titled, "My Experience with Punz." Soon after, Punz would also make his own post on this situation as well. Now, starting off, both stories align in saying that their relationship was really rough and it didn't go that well. According to Andi, Punz used the B slur, which is a derogatory term for Mexicans or Latinos, and of course, Andi is a Latino. And Punz takes accountability and confirms that he was racist in this manner, apologizing for it, as well as he says that he didn't fully understand what the word meant, but it's not an excuse for him saying it. Andi also states that she felt as if Punz was trying to hide her for some reason when Punz says otherwise. He says that very early on into them talking, he made it very clear that the relationship had to be private. This was because he could not predict the actions of his fans, and after asking friends, he was recommended to keep it private. Now the story goes a lot more deeper than that. I mean way deeper, so I highly recommend reading this for yourself, but I'm not done there. Alongside this, Punz also made some accusations on Dream, in which he soon deleted, but the accusations are very interesting. Dream stole Andi from Punz. Yeah, you heard that right. Dream literally took Andi from Punz after their rocky relationship. Flippin', of all people, Dream is the one to steal your girl. Crazy, man, crazy. Now, ever since Shubble and Katie came out with their stories about their big content creators, so many more people have come out with new stories about their cases of sexual assault. And while I would love to bring awareness and talk about them and support the victims, there are so many of them that I'll leave a link to everyone's stories down below. The victims that I've seen in this past month include Shifoy, Jay, Charlotte, Brooke AB, B, Milo, Mexi, Artemis, Kanzi, Bo, Lexi, Thea, Kale, Alex Kister, Juliet and Freddie. All of these people have come out with their own stories, and I cannot stress enough to go check out their stories in the description because they're very important to know. Now, Minecraft has recently announced that they will be adding the MACE to the game, and this has to be the most overpowered thing I've ever seen. So the way this weapon works, right, is the further you fall down, the harder you hit and the more damage you deal. Sounds already strong, right? Well, if you fall from the height limit and hit someone with full netherite, they get killed in one shot. And on top of this, the fall damage you get from falling from this high is completely negated. And on top of that, if you use it with an elytra on, you can quite literally do a drive-by. Just watch this video and you'll see.
Just hold totems. All I'm gonna do is hit you.
Okay, this is my last totem. Why is that so OP?
Now look, I don't play Minecraft, right? Not like that, but this seems so overpowered that I might have to return. Earlier this month, while everyone was coming out with their own stories, a burner account called EmmaLocklon18 was made in order to create false allegations towards Tubbo. Because so many allegations coming out at the time were true, this post naturally gained a lot of attention, and the statement went like this. I've decided to come out with my experience from back in 2021. I stumbled across Tubbo's channel, became a fan instantly and wanted to meet him. That changed when I was 15 and went to a party. I got myself drunk and Tubbo also happened to be at the party. He offered to take me home, and while we were in the car, I was passed out because of how drunk I was. I thought I was going home, but I woke up to a secluded car park where Tubbo would start touching me inappropriately. I never gave him consent, but he started taking advantage anyway. I never came out with this story because no one would believe me, but with the recent Wilbur and George allegations, I can finally speak up. As you can tell, there are a lot of holes in this story, and I mean a lot. So much so to the point that Community Notes themselves got involved. Community Notes states that Tubbo would be driving in peak lockdown times in the UK. Also, Tubbo doesn't have a driver license, so how would that even work? Evidently, people instantly cracked down on this because they instantly knew it was fake. But guess what? It was fake from the beginning. The entire story was created using ChatGPT, and it was a social experiment to prove how easy it was to go viral. Honestly, like, just why, man? Just why? Just causing everyone a headache for no reason. Tommyinnit announced earlier this month that he will be leaving the UK for a whole 2 months as he would be touring the US. His tour started in late March and ends in early May, and every now and then he has uploaded a few videos as an update. Tommy's most recent update video was titled I Am Not Safe. It was your typical, like, just, you know, Tommyinnit funny video thing, but there was one part which raised everyone's eyebrow. It was when Tommyinnit talked about the GeorgeNotFound situation.
I did not love the minute and a half I spent on Twitter. It depleted all, you know, love I had for this world. It was horrible to find out all of my... No, come on, you get it. You get what I'm on about. Jesus fucking Christ, everyone.
He also revealed that him and Technoblade's dad have been making jokes about Technoblade's death. I mean, if it's one way to move past, then Go ahead. I hope Tommyinnit US Tour goes well because from what I've seen, it looks so amazing. If you cast your minds back to October, you'll remember that a YouTuber known as Lucius faked his death. He faked his death in order to avoid pedophilia allegations. Well, Lucius has returned, but not for the reasons you might think. He returned so that he could take down the man who ruined his career and exposed him for who he is. Take 9 came out with even more information to Lucius's pedophilia, even giving an unreleased voice note of him admitting to it.
I don't want an apology. I want you to say, yes, I did do it, or yes, I did not.
It was more of a loud, but whatever. I'm telling you.
Pursued these actions.
Lucius says to an informant of Take 9 that he had transformed from Lucius to Lucifer. Bro, what the hell are you on about, man? What are you on about? Take 9's informant says that Lucius has no other reason to live than destroy his own enemies, and that includes Take 9. The informant recommended Take 9 to stay inside and stay safe. Take 9 saw this as a way to scare him into backing away from Lucius, but would realize that he was actually coming for him when Lucius got arrested at the Florida borders. And that is where the video ends. And that's it for this month of Minecraft. Make sure you watch the previous month, and I'll see you next month. Bye!